And I'd like to just talk a little bit about how we use class meetings to build community at the beginning of the school year. And at the intermediate level, we have class meetings once a week, and we use a consensus model for making decisions in our class meetings, which I teach the kids every year. And this year, as in every year, there are two big jobs at the beginning of the year that we use class meetings for. The first is to decide on what jobs we want to do in our community. I tell the kids that there's a lot of work to be done here, and I can't do it all by myself, so I need them to help me. And some kids say, well, we have all the jobs we know that we did last year, so let's just have the same jobs. And I start out by saying, well, but we're not the same group we were last year. And some kids might want different jobs, and maybe they're jobs we don't need anymore. So we always start with brainstorming a list of jobs that children think are important. And then children at this age always find it absolutely critical to have the same number of jobs as the number of students. So one of the things we have to do is kind of weed out the jobs for the ones we think are the most important. So in our class meetings, I ask then for a champion for a particular job. Who's going to step forward and fight for a job they think we absolutely have to have? And that's where it begins. And that person explains what the job is and why we need it. So after we've had a discussion, during which I hope that children's differences and questions have been worked out and answered, we vote. And anything that's a 3, a 4, or a 5 is a pass, and a 2, a 1, or a 0 are no votes. Children that vote against the proposal on the floor have an obligation to go back and explain what it is that isn't working for them about this decision. If they are unwilling to do that, their vote becomes an abstention and we move on. But otherwise, they do tell us what's wrong or what doesn't work for them. We have a chance to try to talk to them, work it out, and hopefully the proposal will pass. Over here, you can see this is our lunch jobs list for this year. It's slightly different than it was last year. Most notably, we have a messenger teacher assistant job, which I lobbied for every year and haven't had for about 5 years because the kids weren't willing to do it. Another notable example in this year's class meeting about jobs, one child really wanted a job of a lost and found jar for pencils. But in the class discussion, it really turned out she was the only one that really felt the need to have a lost and found jar for pencils, so she was the only one in favor. And while she was disappointed, she understood that the group was not in favor of it. The next job that came up was a job that everyone liked except her. And she had the chance to vote against it and stand in the way of everybody else, but after we talked with her, she came around and was able to vote a neutral 3 and let it pass. And I pointed out to the whole group what strength of character and flexibility that took on her part, because she could easily have wanted to retaliate for us not being in favor of her motion. So that discussion I found really rich, and it showed all the kids about how to be generous and be able to forgive and move on, which is one of the important things about class meetings.